More aid and a group of medical specialists have left Darwin for Dili. Also on the move from Darwin, hundreds of refugees heading to southern states, including New South Wales, so more East Timorese can be evacuated.
400 refugees left Darwin early this morning for the 2.5-hour flight to Perth and a new home. Another 500 will travel to Sydney and Melbourne over the next few days. It's believed their departure is making room for thousands of others, while the Immigration Minister is refusing to say he's made it clear not everyone who wants to flee the territory will be able to.
Nowhere in the world at any time are you able to evacuate whole populations. It doesn't happen. It cannot happen.
So for the hundreds of thousands of East Timorese who have no choice but to stay in their homeland, help is on its way. The relief effort in full swing, with supplies leaving Darwin around the clock. Today, water purification equipment was flown in from Britain. It's expected to reach Dili in a week and will serve 200,000 people.
The cost per day are lives. People are needing water and sanitation.
From the Red Cross, another shipment of supplies, while a French military medical team, including 5 specialist doctors, were also flown in.
I think that we will stay as long as we are useful. If we can help people, we have to stay on the spot.
The rest of the French unit, totalling 200, will fly out tomorrow. In Darwin, Christine Spiteri, National 9 News.
Officially hand over the province of East Timor to Australian-led peacekeepers. While the withdrawal of Indonesian troops continues, the people of Dili prayed for lasting peace.
The day before, they're due to officially hand over control of East Timor to the international peacekeepers. Indonesian troops pile up on the wharves, ready to depart. There are thousands of them on the move. Here, the 13th Infantry Brigade, addressed by their commander. One last parade for their final hour on East Timorese territory.
Do you think your troops will ever be back to East Timor?
I don't think so.
This is the end?
Yeah, I don't think so if we want to back here.
And none of them seem too sorry about leaving.
This withdrawal brings to an end their 24-year presence here in East Timor. 24,000 troops on the move and only a token force left behind.
And even as they made to move, one last chance for some more Indonesian army indignity, selling their leftover rations and looted food stocks at hyperinflated prices to the desperate locals they leave behind.
More expensive, yeah.
Some residents, though, did get their own back, raiding the vacated Indonesian army barracks for property they'd left behind. This man fills the garbage bin. His son raids the kitchens. They were even taking the coffee tables. Aid is reaching Dili, but it's not going much further. This landing craft from Australia carried tons of supplies. The agencies want to shift it, but need secure aid routes first.
The food delivery has to go on, but we need greater access. World Vision has to get out to more deeper areas.
But it's still so unsafe here. 2 more bodies found in the last 24 hours.
Both have been executed from the evidence that was found on the bodies.
And even with troops patrolling the streets constantly now, the fires continue to burn. Another army barracks torched. And details today of an Australian soldier ambushed by a militiaman, a gun put to his head, and still our troops refuse to retaliate.
We saw an example of restraint being exercised by a professional force.
After times that have sorely tested their faith, the people of Dili still crammed the local church today, the first time it's been safe to do so since they voted for independence 4 weeks ago. A similar service held for the refugees at the UN's main safe haven, this local sports stadium. Tomorrow is a new beginning for these people, and everyone is praying for a permanent peace.
United Nations forces of the new military power in East Timor, with Indonesia reducing its army numbers to a skeleton garrison of around 1,500. Diplomatically, the Australian commander says Indonesia remains the official power, but for the Timorese, it's a landmark day.
It was all over within minutes. The responsibility for the security of the people of East Timor now officially swinging in favour of the Australian-led peacekeeping force. Behind closed doors, Major General Peter Cosgrove farewelled the Indonesian commander, General Kiki Srinakri, who left the province soon after.
Remembering, this is still Indonesian sovereign territory, so I share security responsibilities, which is what the mandate requires.
But Indonesia is not completely dissolving its responsibilities here. 1,500 troops will remain. Their task to maintain security at the airfield, port, telecommunications centre and Indonesian government offices.
The fewer numbers of TNI people obviously decrease the potential tension that may have existed with the larger number of TNI.
But here in the refugee camps around Dili, the handover of security means little to the people who are still desperately trying to put their ravaged lives back together. And safety here is far from assured. Bands of militia are still hiding out in Dili, still terrorising villages close to the West Timor border. Meanwhile, the UN peacekeeping build-up continues to escalate, more countries joining the force already here. And off the coast, our Navy maintains a close watch on land movements. The supply ship Success is vital to our soldiers on the ground, providing the bare essentials for our troops' survival. The multinational force has now reached almost half its total deployment of 8,000. Plans are being made to push out of Dili, securing the east, south and more dangerously, the west. In Dili, Simon Boda, National 9 News.
East Timor has been left to smoking wreck by the Indonesian army and their militia henchmen. Once peace is restored, the next great challenge will be to rebuild the small country from the ground up.
Black smoke smothers the Dili skyline, blocking out the sunlight in a city that's become hell on earth for survivors of the madness. It's clear Indonesia's armed forces don't have any long-term plans here. Many buildings that belong to them, and there are many, are being torched by the departing troops.
I think they tried to strike terror in the hearts of these people, and they have been very effective in that.
The peacekeeping troops may be here, but they can't prevent this sort of thing taking place. According to eyewitnesses, this fire was started deliberately by members of Indonesia's armed forces. It seems they are determined to completely destroy Dili. As the UN forces spread further afield, it's the same story of wholesale destruction. While the people are overjoyed at being rescued, their prospects are grim. The Indonesians have seen to that.
Destruction, as we saw in the last 24 hours of electricity generation and water supply systems and medical facilities.
The convoy received an even bigger welcome in the city of Baucau. But they can only be celebrating simple survival. This is the stark landscape of their hometown. The peacekeepers are weeks too late. Medical clinics have been ransacked.